And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. Okay, I have not been on the internet for a long time. It's been like a week. I've been getting burnt out from a whole bunch of stuff, and I've been focusing on music a lot lately, including taking singing classes and just listening to music and singing while I'm by myself. So, I have some free time now, and I thought that this would be a good opportunity to make another video. So, what's the topic of the day? Perseverance. There is this president, I think Calvin Coolidge, who said some lofty, eloquent quote to the effect of perseverance is the only thing that actually makes somebody succeed at something. And to speak to that, I'll bring up the story of George Lucas. When he was making the first Star Wars, he had only made two films prior. He lived in California and he went to film school, and he made a movie called no, he made his first movie called THX 1138, which is I think a sci-fi type of movie. Then the second movie was completely different. It was called American Graffiti. I've not seen either of these, but American Graffiti is it's like a coming of age story about some California teenagers driving Mustangs and having a good time in this 1970s American lifestyle. Then that was 71. Star Wars released in 77, and this was his biggest and most ambitious project, and it was the one that had the most. It was the most out there because sci-fi was sort of a fringe genre at that time, and the movie he was making was completely unheard of or unprecedented. He was able to secure $8 million of funding from 20th Century Fox, and it turned out in time that that was not enough. He finished a version of the movie with that budget and decided he didn't like it enough, and so he said he had to ask them for more, which they're hesitant to give, and they gave another $4 million, so he had a total budget of $12 million. Now, George Lucas at the time was an unknown director, rightfully so, yet he was able somehow to secure John Williams to produce the score of Star Wars. John Williams was a reputed, great composer. He had a reputation already. For some reason, he decided to sign on for Star Wars. The rest of the people in the cast were completely unknowns. Harrison Ford was a carpenter who got a job on the set of Star Wars. He would do auditions with actors. So he would read lines, then the actor would audition back to them. And then George Lucas said, oh, Harrison Ford looks pretty good. He can read the lines pretty well. So eventually they cast him. Mark Hamill, unknown. Mark Hamill was not the best actor to sign on for the audition for the role of Luke, but George Lucas picked him because Mark Hamill exuded innocence, which is what he wanted in that character. Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, unknown. James Earl Jones, unknown. The dude who played Tarkin, unknown. The guy behind the Darth Vader suit, unknown. James Earl Jones did Vader's voice, obviously. So what Lucas was able to do was, with the cutting edge of technology that was available to him at that time, produce a movie which was expensive to make because there weren't a lot of special effects in it, but it was costly to produce something with that much visual, with that many sets of ships and a degree of special effects, which is mostly the laser blast, the lightsabers, and then the back of the ships, which had these white lights glowing. It's because of his perseverance that he was able to do that. They were filming in Tunisia for those sand scenes on Tatooine, and there was a storm that came and destroyed the whole set. And he had to make the scenes happen again, recreate it, and you watch the movie and you just see a really well produced film. He came from nothing, and the nothing from the sense of like he didn't have much, and eventually there was a period where in 1977 where the movie was making 20th Century Fox over $1 million per day. People started to see it, and word of mouth spread the word of Star Wars like wildfire. So it created, I guess, a phenomenon the likes of which I haven't seen, being born in 1992, but I can appreciate intellectually at least. I love the movie. I saw it when I was a kid, and I every time I see it now, it brings back a type of nostalgia that I can't replace. It's the purity of childhood. It's when you're young and everything is okay. You don't know too much about the world, and you get to see innocent Luke going on an adventure and fighting bad guys. You get to see Darth Vader, who's this really, in the first movie at least, kind of comic book type of bad guy who's really cool, really menacing. You don't know much about him, and the whole thing works. There is a deeper level of wisdom within Star Wars that is not so obvious to the eye. Darth Vader, when he meets Obi-Wan, he says, "I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." I just finished a yoga class, and the guy at the yoga teacher said, we started the class in seated pose at the front of our mats, and then he finished us in the same spot, and he said, "In this yoga class, we have come to full circle, as many things in life often do, and as a matter of fact, as all things do, whether or not we're aware of it." So subtly woven in is that same principle in Vader's line. I don't know if it was conscious on the part of the writers or not, but there it was. Similarly, the yoga teacher talked about how the breath is more important than the poses themselves. And he talks about it a lot. I've been to this guy a few times at this point. And I went up to class and I said, "What's up?" And then we did a fist bump. And I asked, "Why do you keep talking about that?" I mean, I kind of know like the breath is, it's good for calming yourself physiologically. When I tutor kids, I have them breathe sometimes when I remember to tell them to do so. I tell them that it calms them physiologically. I tell them that it stops the whirring in their mind, not worrying, but whirring, like how helicopters, fans whir. You know, your thoughts keep whirring, and then when you're trying to study, that's actually not good because many times kids think too many steps ahead. They don't focus on the common sense step you need to do now. You add 5 to this side, you add 5 to that side. Don't think 2 steps ahead. So I asked him, why is the breath so important? He said the breath is the real practice of yoga. It's not the physical exercises, though many people think that it is. He also said that controlling the breath is the most basic and fundamental aspect of controlling yourself. If you can't control your breath, you have no business trying to control anything else. And when I first started doing yoga, I went to a yoga class in 2011 in the UF, University of Florida gym, and they kept saying, do the breath, and I'm like, forget that, I'll just do the poses, because I didn't listen as well back then as I do now. And as time has gone on, I've realized that my breath has become better and better and better. The more cardio I've done, the more exercise I've done, the more I've been forced to control myself on the tennis court, the more I've been forced to really control myself in yoga. And the more calm I've become just with age. I'm 26 at this point. So Vader does not have, his breath is controlled from the standpoint that it's metered, it's done through a tank. It almost happens independently of whether he's speaking. You'll hear him talking, and even as he's saying words, the mask thing is inhaling for him. And that's another aspect of how Vader is literally cut off from life. He can't breathe. And when you can't breathe, is it any surprise that he's so evil? Now, in the Star Wars Episode 3, where you find out how he becomes Darth Vader and he finally gets the mask put on, they give a shot from his perspective as he's lying on this table, and the mask comes onto his face. And you see the eyes, seeing from his perspective looking outward, the eyes of the mask are red. Then they pan out and show Anakin as he sees this mask encompassing his face, and these red eyes about to encompass his own eyes. He goes like this, like as if he's scared to see this happen. And so it happens, and now he's Darth Vader, and he doesn't take off the mask unless he's by himself and, like, I don't know, brushing his teeth or washing his face or whatever he needs to do, but he can only take it off for short periods of time. So at the end of Star Wars, a couple minutes before he dies, he says to Luke, his son, "Son, help me take this mask off, but you'll die. Nothing can stop that now. Just for once, let me look on you with my own eyes." So, Luke went into this believing that Vader was good, and he told Princess Leia, his sister, he told Yoda, he told Obi-Wan. I don't think Yoda and Obi-Wan particularly agreed with him, but Luke loved his father. He never had a father. He didn't know Vader was his father. He thought his father was dead. And he was convinced that Vader had goodness in him and that he could turn him from the Emperor's evil grasp and this grasp of this red-eyed, masked Darth Vader. So Luke slowly removes the mask. He removes the helmet, then he removes the mask, and you see this pale, frail, charred, scarred face looking at Luke, and he doesn't look nearly as cool with the mask off as he does with it on. And if you were to be judgmental, he looks kind of pathetic. And Vader says to Luke in a regular voice, not in the Darth Vader voice with the metered breathing and that excessive depth of voice, "Now go, my son. Leave me? I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you." "You already have, Luke. You already have. You were right about me. Tell your sister you were right." His head leans back and his eyes close and the life leaves his body, and Luke kneels and cries. And that's the end of Darth Vader. In the final moments of his life, the horrid mask and the red eyes were taken off. If you've seen the Terminator 2, great movie, even better than the first one. Well, in Terminator 1, you can see that the Terminator's eye literally is red. In Terminator 2, they show from his perspective when he walks into this bar, he needs to get some clothes, and he also sees through Arnold. He also sees through red lensed eyes, and it's all calculative. So he sees this burly guy. Okay, this is this clothes size. This is his height. Okay, not a good fit for me. Then he sees someone else. Okay, these calculations appear on the eyes, but nonetheless, this red-eyed perspective is robotic in both of these movies. Again, done on purpose or not done on purpose is beyond me, but this is what I see out of it, and this is what I'm bringing forth in this video. So, again, a lot of interesting principles brought into this, into the Star Wars series. I opened the video singing "Let It Be." I've gotten better at singing. I'm taking vocal lessons, and I believe in a purpose that the Beatles believed in, again, consciously or not, I don't know, and a lot of other great artists have believed in, which is and that my acting teacher has helped me come to understand and believe in, which is that art can change people. Art touches people, and it's the thing that they live to see. People work all day, and they come home, and what do? Flip on the TV while making dinner, and then sit around the TV and watch, because there's something human about it that the computer mind is not, so engaged in. You can actually just perceive something beautiful. So I want to make art that touches people. I've been training at this for 4 and some years since I first stepped into Marco's studio in July 20th, 2014, 5 days after I turned 22. And the form of it has changed. I took acting classes, and now and then I'm taking like speaking, informal speaking classes at Toastmasters. I've done that for 2 years, and I'm singing now. So acting is off, at least for now. I have no interest in that now. I'm still doing speeches. I've got another Kennedy speech coming, and this one is going to be about healing divisiveness. And one line that I have for it now is, For if we cannot bring ourselves to understand one another, or to agree with each other's perspectives, at least we can engage in tolerance and seek to understand. And even if we dislike the people who hold opposing viewpoints, to curb ourselves before that dislike turns into hatred. That's one line. I'm formulating. I've got a whole speech that's going to come in that form. So that's one. And then music is another form. I've written 3 songs at this point, and that's gone from zero good songs at least for my whole life, and as 6 months within the band, to 3 songs in the last, I'd say, 2 weeks. And it's fun, it's good, and more fun stuff to come. And I think yoga has been helping a lot through that process. Subconsciously, I'm learning how to breathe. When you know how to breathe controlledly, you can control yourself. And then you're a controlled vessel, which can then better give expression to the things that you want to express, whether it's a tennis shot, which I also really love and do. I don't know if I can make it as a pro, but I'm working towards it. Musical singing, yoga postures, acting, whatever it may be. So that's what I've got to say for now. Hope you enjoyed it.